Okay. So did anybody have any questions to start off with before we get into teachings? Because I'm going to wait a couple minutes before we start. And I'm open to questions if anybody has any experiences that they want to share. This is the perfect time to do it.
I have one, Karen.
Hi, Karen. Yes.
Hi. I just started, and I did get my package in the mail, and I was wondering if I should wait I started to use it, but then I was like, I'm not as advanced like with feeling, and I don't feel my cells like you all do. And I was wondering if I should wait till I have my session and start it then. Or
that's a really good question, because a lot of times when our product meets you at the frequency that you're at. And so I feel like that guidance inside of you to say, maybe I should wait until I have my session with Jules is really good, because the frequency that you will enter into will be the frequency that the product matches you at. So if you're still in this moment of just getting reconnected to the material and having it resonate and integrate within, I would recommend waiting. There is no wrong way to do it, because some people get so excited when they receive the product that they start taking it right away, which is awesome, because it's going to meet you where you're at and take you to your next level. But if you want to integrate the work more and then start using it, to me, like personally, that's what I did, and it took me to my next level. So there's no wrong way to do it. I just think, sometimes when we started this course, there were people that didn't even have their package, and that was disappointing to them, but for me, exciting, because then they could actually integrate the work so that when they started using it, it was really going to amplify and enhance their experience. So I would actually recommend, if that's what you're feeling called to do, please do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions that we have?
I have one.
Yes, who's speaking?
Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. I had a question. Once you clear a belief system, and I know it's, do you often feel called to do it again? Because what I've noticed is that some of the same things are coming up, so like I'll check in and with myself and connect and say, okay, what needs what needs clearing, and either just my inner guidance or I'll douse. And I'm noticing that it's all really similar stuff. So I don't know if, so I guess there's my question.
Yeah, and that's an awesome question, because oftentimes when we clear belief system, the thing that comes up is that initial fear, the initial emotion. And then what we want to do is take it a little bit deeper and go more into the root of it. So for you to trace it, like if that keeps coming up, there is probably an energy or belief pattern attached to it. When we actually get into DECU more, for those that may continue on to DECU cert, you start to follow that one belief system is really spidering out to others, but we keep it simple in DECU body. So if it's coming back up, I would go a little bit deeper in that, find out where it's actually lying, because there may be other programs attached to it. So even though you cleared it, you didn't clear the root of it. You're just clearing a belief system within it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, it does get fascinating, because I personally also, I will go in and clear it, and I thought I cleared it because if I say show me, and I'll ask the cell and it's cleared, but then it goes a little bit deeper into another belief system, and so it kind of spiders down. So it also depends if you're clearing from that master cell versus the universal, depending on how, if you're keeping it simple. My intuition, and I believe your intuition is doing the same, is that there is just more belief systems attached to the root cause of it, and you're just kind of scratching that surface.
Okay, so the master is more kind of the root.
Actually, the universal cell. So the master cell is the actual cell that you're clearing in that moment. The universal cell will get, yes.
Oh.
But we want to keep it simple. You're getting really deep into the work, which we love. And so if you're being guided, if it comes back up, it's just asking you to dive a little bit deeper and to choose going.
And I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm noticing. Oh, I noticed too that it's stemming past lives. I'm wondering if maybe that's part of it too.
Past life stuff, is that what you said? I'm sorry, it broke up.
past life. That it's
Sure.
connected with past life.
I would caution you to not play in the story of it. Because when we actually go in through a clearing and there's a story or a past life situation attached to it, we have a tendency to repeat that loop. So in fact, the clearing hasn't been cleared. You're actually reliving that experience. And so you're bringing that program back into the system. And so back in April, when time stood, like it stood still, and Jules has mentioned this in many of her teachings, all of karma had been cleared. There may be residual imprints, but the cause of it would be great to say, okay, that's what it is, and clear it from that point. That's why when we clear, we say from the first particle of existence to this time and place called now, to not actually get caught up into the story in which it was, because past life stuff can be tricky because there may be a residual imprint, but at the same time, it's not resonating in this moment right now. So it's not serving you and your body to carry on that program, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because it's really like, it's fascinating. And I like with a lot of these belief systems, this is where it gets a little trippy in the mind, is because you'll be brought to a remembering state, because we are in a remembering state right now. So we're clearing things, and it's important to not get attached to that story or what it is. See it for what it may be. It could be a residual imprint. And then as it clears, let it release, and then go to that root cause with yourselves right now in the present moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Did that answer your question?
Erica, can I add something to that?
Please.
So Jen, I felt like when I first started working through my belief systems, the same things were coming up, and in different ways. It would be the same belief and then the different emotion and fear. And Erica, I was curious if you thought this, because I felt this is how it worked for me, but it was almost as though I had cleared it, but it just kept presenting itself because I was working on it so often, and I just wasn't holding that frequency yet. And so the more I worked on it, and the more I was finally, like, after a couple of months, I was finally holding that frequency, it quit coming up. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I think as we explore our belief systems, and as we explore patterns that keep coming up and how we keep reliving them, we're going to notice there is a lot of similar themes. And so as they come up, just be aware of where that may be in your body. Be aware of where you may be holding that emotion, and trace it, because similar to how if you're not holding the frequency long enough and it comes back up to work more, also make sure you're getting to that root cause. So when you say show me, make sure it's when you feel it, like when you feel that shift inside energetically and you're calling in that rainbow light, allow the space for that rainbow light to come in and heal the cell. More often than not, when we clear, cancel, and delete, we just move through the healing and we don't let it integrate and resonate. And then that may also show that it needs a little bit more work for you to hold that frequency longer, going along with what Megan said as well. So thank you. This is what's so fun about DECU, is that you're really learning how to trace your belief systems in your body. And a lot of times we'll attach very similar belief systems in areas of our life that we're not aware of. And so then it comes up in all different ways. And Jen, I feel like that's what you're experiencing as well. Although I did see your comment in Kajabi with regards to your light language clearing, and I loved that you brought that into the clearing, because it's taking it on a frequency higher than it's your divine self doing that clearing. Are there other questions?
I would just
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Hello?
928.
Oh, yes. Okay, this is Nanette. I wanted to find out if you've had something that happened as an accident, and it has to do with the organs, and will we be learning, like I have a residual because of this accident from a long time ago. Will we be learning with the organs and the things that you're going over today, like maybe what statements or what I could use to clear up this, because it's really causing havoc in my life right now because of the substances coming out of my body?
Yes. Yeah. So when you actually go into your organ system, you're going to learn
Mm-hmm.
how to clear from that place and an energetic shift.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that will, like, if you go into that week 3, it just takes it to that deeper level of reprogramming your cells.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I pulled up the PDFs and I was really amazed. I'm gonna really go over them and start relating them to each part of the body. That's really a great, the PDFs are really great along with everything else that you gave us. So I've been watching everything because I've been trying to catch up too because I just started also. So a lot of homework.
Well, and take it at your pace too. Like, I feel like when we all have this information in front of us, it gets a little overwhelming, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not to overwhelm. It's just to take it at your pace and to learn how your body is, because we are
Yeah.
talking about DECU body. So we're going to connect today more with numbers and frequency and the belief systems behind exercise and diet. That's the
Mm-hmm.
teaching that I want to focus on today, and then bring in the questions from that.
Okay, that sounds good. I just need to clear up this problem because, as I said, it has to do with, fluid coming out of my body, and there's nothing that I have been able to do so far. So I said, well, I'm praying that something that I learned in this class that I can clear it up with. So
Awesome.
thank you for that.
Thank you, Nanette. And then I heard another question come on in.
It was me, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Hi. First I wanted to let Jen know that it does say that you're supposed to test it again to see if it's cleared in the material. And then it also says you can scan for the specific category where there might be an aspect that still needs clearing, just so you know. So I always check mine after I'm done to see if it's cleared or not before I go on. But my question was, when you start off, do you start with your belief program and do you always go into the fear then afterwards?
Not everyone has a fear attached.
Okay.
Some people will have an emotion attached. Some people will just have a belief system attached. That's why there's those different emotion charts.
Right.
And so it's not always, it's just going to be what comes up when you actually scan through. That's why it's so individual, customized. Like, we have a lot of information on those PDFs and sheets for you to be guided through it. So more often than not, some people will have like a physical response in them to show them a shift. Some people will have an emotion. Some people will have the fear. And so it's more or less identifying what comes up when you actually approach your belief system.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. All right. Are there any other questions? I'm going to go into the teaching then. Okay, so I'm really excited about this portion of it because we're going to talk numbers. A lot of you had listened to us in Lauren Gailey's interview, and we talked about the frequency of 180 versus the frequency of 130. And we're using numbers because with regards to putting something in it, like if you put numbers on a scale, that holds a frequency. So a lot of times it triggers less, or it can trigger more depending on where you are in your process. So what we like to do is, when you imagine yourself, because everybody's number is different, and there's a frequency that's being held within that number. So let's say, like, I'm just going to go 150. Let's say your goal is 150. The number you want to step into is 150. You can either look at it as a 15, like 150. Like, what does that person feel like? What does that look like? How does that experience it? And when you're stepping into the frequency of a number, we work with numerology. So I would step into the number of 6, and the frequency of a 6 is whatever you want it to be. Because a lot of times people will look at a scale and they don't like the number that they see. And so they're telling themselves that that number is reflection of a negative belief system, or it's telling it that it's not responding well to a belief system. So what we don't want you to do is get caught up in something that you're putting a projection on, because more often than not, when somebody steps on a scale, they consider that number as the result, versus imagining the number that they want to step into, imagining the frequency that they want to step into. And when we explore different belief systems behind exercise and diet, which we'll get into next, it's important to know that the number that you are currently at right now is just a number. It's not a reflection of anything other than feedback. And so there's no sense in putting a restriction or an idea behind it, but to have a number that you want to step into. So the example that you saw in the video, like if you were 170 or 180, that's going to hold a different frequency of 130. Now for me, numbers in particular, like I just like to work with, like, what does a 4 feel like? What am I at a 4? What does a 9 feel like? So I like to simplify it, and I like to imagine whatever my number is, whatever my number would be, what the frequency would be when you step into that. What does that person feel like? What does that frequency feel like? What does it mean? So it takes, even though that's kind of hard for the brain to wrap around, it takes the trigger of feeling the words that would be negative and a connotation negative to it, takes it out of it. So for instance, when you go into a gym, there are things like heart rate numbers, there are BMI numbers, there are aerobic numbers. And so there are numbers that are attached to science where people are like, well, if I'm at 140, I'm burning fat. If my heartbeat's at 180, I'm in my anaerobic phase. And what I find fascinating is that I was somebody that my VO2 max would be a 210, and that would technically tell me I'm dead. And for me, I felt like I was like a solid sprinter. So when we start to analyze numbers and belief systems behind numbers, I want you to be aware that I don't want you to put a negative connotation or a restriction into that number. Lori, when you said you add the numbers together to get the number, I do, because it takes the trigger out. You don't necessarily have to. A lot of times people will have an experience of what it felt like to be their prime weight, whatever that was. And most people attach a number to that. So in that regard, it's easier to learn from a number, to step into the number and to be the number, because that will give you the frequency that you remember being your strongest. So my personal example was, at my heaviest, I was 175, and I wanted to be the frequency of my strongest, which was 128. So I kept the numbers what they were and just imagined myself what I felt like when I was 128. What did my skin feel like? What did my cells feel like? What did my body feel like? How did my body feel in clothes? What choices did I make? So those are the things that I want you to start playing with when it comes to numbers. Find out what your favorite number is and put that frequency in that number, and then make that your goal without restriction. Because a lot of the clearings that I want to do in a little bit is the idea that I only look good when I run. Running, my body only responds to running. Or if I lift, I get bulky. Or if I, what's the other one that I like? Oh, walking does nothing. Or if I ride a bike, my legs get big. There are a lot of belief systems that we put attached to weight as well as diet. Like when some people feel their best, they may have been on a really regimented diet. They had maybe really been measuring out their food and things. And when you do that, you're automatically telling your cells that I will only look good if I do this lifestyle. Like when I was doing this diet is when I felt my best. So you're telling your cells that it's only going to respond to the diet that you were on, which is why it didn't work, because those choices weren't sustainable. So when you actually start to play with frequency and numbers, I want you to step into what it would be like to be a number that you want to possess, to be a number that you want to hold, so that it takes out the thought process of what it was that got you there, what it was that meant, and how it would clear the belief system of exercise and food attached to that. Does that make sense? Is there any questions? Because a lot of time, yes, Jane, go ahead.
If it's in kilos, how do you do it?
Good question, because I see it like, and to me, if it's kilos or grams, it doesn't, or even pounds. Like I love that, because you're asking for that measurement. You're asking for the science of it. And that's what I love about that question. Even with regards to measuring spoons, like a teaspoon to a tablespoon, they all have a frequency, when in reality, it's a 1 or a half. And so just start playing in the idea of numbers do not have frequency. We give them the frequency, and that's what we put onto our cells. So like, that's the beauty of playing in this realm, is that you can actually play with 150 and have that make you be the strongest and have you be the most solid. Because what does that frequency of 150, what does that want to become for you? What does a frequency of 120 become for you? Some people, if they want to drop down to 100 pounds, Is that considered realistic? Is that considered healthy? Those are frequencies that you want to step into, because your body is just wanting to be told what to do. Your cells are just being wanting to told what to do. And yet when we put a belief system behind it unconsciously, you're telling it, well, that means I'm not going to be healthy at this weight, or that means I'm not perfect at this weight. And so we just kind of want to take the judgment out behind the number so that we're not attaching a frequency to it. We want to step into a number that works best for us, that feels good for us. Sam.
Okay, so hi. I have a question. So how do we like set the frequency? Just through like pure intention? Is that how we set the frequency with the number? Start associating that?
Yes, intention, and also like tracing your energy within that intention. So when you actually were to close your eyes, and I'll have everyone do it, like if everyone wants to close their eyes and breathe into their center and just pick a number that they want to embrace, like a number that they want to be. And then imagine that number is strength, purity, power, and light. Breathe in that number. Strength, purity, power, and light. Exhale it out. And when you approach that number, that's the frequency you want to tap into. That's the frequency you're stepping into with your special number, because everyone's number is different. And it takes the trigger out because you didn't think about what that number meant. You just created a frequency into that number.
Okay. And does it have to be like a single number or?
No, you can do the 150, 180. I'm just, for those that had difficulty with a number on a scale, like numbers are just numbers. They're just messages to give you feedback. And so if you don't like the number, you can change the number. And so for me, I would change the number to a single number because it was easier. Like for me, I just enjoyed it.
Okay.
I'm just like, that's why it's so interesting, because there is truly no wrong way to do it. There's just the way that you're going to be guided to do it, to tell your cells what to do. Same thing goes with sizes. Like people have different sizes. Sizes run the board. And what I love about it is anytime you buy an article of clothing, your entire closet has all different sizes, and yet all clothing fits the same according to measurements. And so that's why we're trying to break the belief system that in order to be this size, I have to do this. All sizes are just a way that that person at that place measured it. There's no trigger behind it. So there's no reason to beat yourself up over something unless it was actually tailored to fit your body. And that is just the information that is coming through. So when you take on a size, like if you, let's say you wanted to be a size 6, that's your amazing size. Imagine what it would be like to be the size 6. Imagine what the choices are to be in that frequency of what a 6 holds. I'm checking in. And the belief systems that I want to clear today are all going to come around the idea of diet and the idea of exercise. Because a lot of times when I worked in the fitness industry, there were people that defied belief systems all the time. Like there's a collective belief system. If we don't work out, we won't be healthy. If we work out hard, like work out harder, not smarter, not harder. Or if you are a marathoner, you're going to have a marathon body. If you're a sprinter, you're going to have a sprinter body. There's even a thing called the chubby trainer, that if somebody like was a trainer and they went in all fit, they would automatically lose their shape because of, you know, they got tired and they wouldn't take time out for them. And yet people would take on these belief systems without even realizing that they were taking it on. And being in an environment of a gym per se, if you're watching somebody work out and they are ripped and you are associating their workout with how their body is, you're telling yourself that your body can't be like that because of that particular, because you're not working out the same way that they are. So it's really interesting to start playing in with the idea of comparison, because we are the masters of our ship. We tell our bodies what to do. If you compared your body to somebody else and base it on what they were doing for an exercise, everything that you're doing is showing yourself that it's not going to work, because you don't look like them. So you're using their physical representation as a reflection of yourself because of how they're doing it. Because you're in a facility where if you get on that treadmill every day, your body should be able to look like somebody that would be on there every day running like a marathon or a couple miles full speed to full sweat, where that's not the healthiest option for both. And at the same time, for people that are exercising, if you're saying I'm only going to lose weight when I exercise, that means you're telling your cells that when you don't exercise, you will gain weight. And so that's why we just want you to start becoming aware of where that lies, because that's not the case. We're not saying not exercise. We're just saying don't make it a restriction as a reflection of your body. Do it to reconnect to yourself. Do it to understand how your energy is. Do it to reconnect and get into your body for it to give you feedback. If something like exercise is like, I have to do it, otherwise I'm not going to get fit, then your body, the opposite's happening. You're telling it that it's not going to do anything unless you do this. You're giving it a restriction. You're giving it a rule. And what we want to do is free yourself from those restrictions and rules so that you learn how to get into your own body and listen to your guidance of what's best for you, for your own personal serenity, for your own personal peace and calmness. Because not everybody is a good runner. Like not everyone has, like with certain things, that people don't like to run, people like to hike, people like to dance. There was a time when women in the 50s didn't work out like a gym, and they were they were curvy and they were gorgeous and they did housework. So really and truly start exploring what it means to feel like, to be fit for you and how that looks like. And in your daily regimen, start incorporating that frequency. Because it isn't always one size fits all. There's a collective belief that you have to do this in order to achieve that. You have to eat this in order to achieve that. And just ask yourself if that resonates with you, if you agree with that. Okay. Is there questions? I'm like scrolling through the different screens to see if I'm missing anybody, if anybody had any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, Karina.
Yes, and we touched on this last week, and then I explored more this week about certain. I just struggle with nausea if I eat something that's not, officially supposed to be in my, like it can just be a little tiny biscuit or something. And then I will feel really nauseous for like 2 days. And so this is what I'm struggling with this concept, because I totally, I can see how it should be, I should be able to, maybe transform that, but so far the nausea has had the upper hand. And
I love that you're bringing that up, because there is a fear that if I eat this, then I will get nauseous. And so you're automatically, even the experiment, having that physical result is what you're doing when you're like, well, if I do this, am I or am I not going to get nauseous? Instead of experiencing it from a frequency of neutrality or a frequency of clear, you're automatically giving it an outcome, like will or will not this work? And by attaching the outcome to it, you're going to get the result that that you have feared. Like nobody wants to feel nauseous. So when you look at that frequency and you're like, am I going to get nauseous or not? And then you're like taking it in, I'm feeling a hesitation in that system when you take it in, and you're telling your body that it's going to reject it just by putting on the potential outcome of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, not consciously. I mean,
right.
Consciously, I was like, okay, I'll just have it. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's fine. But then it wasn't. So.
Yeah, and that's where we get to play in these frequencies, because again, like some of these belief systems have been ingrained in ourselves for a very long time. And right. They're not even necessarily ours. Just like when people eat a cookie, like if I eat this, I'm going to gain a pound. People assume cookies junk food. If I eat this cookie and I'm going to gain weight, because every time I eat a cookie, I gain weight. Do you believe in that? Does that resonate with you? Or is that the collective idea that you bought into? You know, with this COVID-15, everyone's doing quarantine 15. A lot of people have gained extra weight and their life didn't change. They just attached to the belief system that if I'm going to be at home, I'm going to wear weight for stress, where some people will say, well, under stress, I lose a lot of weight. And so it can go both ways. You just have to see where you reside in the frequency where you're at. Like if you're truly embracing the idea of playing with it and not putting a restriction on it, really clear the fear before ingesting.
Okay.
That hesitation subconsciously before ingesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's almost like you're testing yourself, like you're giving yourself a test. Like if I do this, will it work? If I don't, it's not going to work. And when it doesn't work, you're like, now I'm nauseous. And then you get disappointed in self, when in reality, you're just finding the frequency that you're going to hold
Mm-hmm.
to where it actually will be ingested in what you need it to do to nourish you.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I can go along with the testing. I mean, I think that's what I'm doing, because I am very conscious of what I do and think and feel. You know, I work all day in that kind of world. But I can see that to a point I was testing. But I am not sure how to go past that.
Well, and work on that frequency of clearing the belief system that you need to test it in order for it to work. You need that, right? Like, and that's where you start to play in those frequencies that make it fun. Because a lot of times, like a lot of us are in this class, if you will, because everything else has been dialed in except the weight. And that's why you're here. You're like, I don't know why I can't control anything other than my weight. And right away, it goes into like a control pattern because you think that it's a reflection of self, when in reality, it's a way to step into frequency. And so some people feel like they're already looking at it as a hurdle, and it's not a hurdle. It's just something that you have to step into and practice in order to embrace, so that you are truly free from your restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lori just asked, is it beneficial before ingesting anything to consciously change the frequency? It's very beneficial to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very beneficial that when you are actually playing and experimenting in food and in diet, to come from a place of calm and still, to see if it resonates with you and see what comes up in that moment. And a lot of times when we eat, we're eating to fill a void. We're eating because of stress. We're eating out of control. And that's because there's something in us that's telling us it's not right. It could even simply be being uncomfortable. As we start to clear these belief systems, there's an uncomfort feeling inside that people are like, I don't know why I'm so uncomfortable. And then they don't want to feel the uncomfortable. So then they start to do things to replace it. That's why it's taking it outside of yourself, bringing it in. Because as it was mentioned last week, you are not an extension of any, like you are everything that you are ingesting. Like you are the illusion of you, and the information and the belief system that you're putting on something outside of yourself is what we're stepping into. It's what we're changing. It's what's uncomfortable, so that when you get it to the intention of playing in that frequency, you can actually ingest the frequency, and it will actually elevate you to the frequency that you need it to be. But it's holding that space for it to stay effective. And it's in that holding that is uncomfortable, because we expect the immediate result. We expect the immediate shift, and to hold and stay in that shift, when in reality, we have to keep reminding ourselves to respond to that frequency. We're constantly asking ourselves to step into the frequency that we want to become, because we can hold it in the clearing. And as Megan had said before, it wasn't being held long enough to sustain. So we just have to reconnect to what it felt like when you had that shift in that moment, to connect to what that thing is outside of yourself, what you want it to become in frequency, and then take it in. So that nothing truly is coming outside of you. You are telling your body how to respond to frequency within, and how to hold things outside of yourself within your frequency.
Okay.
And so what I want to do is I want to clear some belief systems attached to this exercise and diet, because there's a lot of them. And I feel, especially during a time right now where people are looking for needs, there's a lot of unknown. And because that's uncomfortable, people are looking at things to control. People are looking at things to try to contain and organize and fit into a box. And that's the opposite of what we want to do. We want to step in and release to that unknown so that we can step into the frequency of what we're going to become, so that we become unwavered with things that are coming at us. And a lot of times we're putting the outside frequency in food because there is an idea that the food is comfort. There is an idea that the exercise, if I run, I'm going to look better. If I walk, you know, this is what's going to, my body's going to do this because of that. And what we want you to start doing is actually say, do I want to walk? Do I want to connect to my body? Do I want to feel me? Because more often than not, when you're in a response or you're in a trigger, you don't know what it's like to feel you, and you can't decipher your frequency in the noise. And so we want to get to that stillness and clear the belief systems behind the noise. Is there any questions before I do? Yes, I love how Judy is like, the mocha difference ice cream I'm enjoying is supporting my body and shedding its weight. And I love that because there is a belief system that we brought on. We're just gonna clear a bunch of belief systems that junk food's bad, like that ice cream is bad for you, dairy is bad for you, meat is bad for you. Again, does this resonate with you? Does it not resonate with you? We're just asking you to, because everyone is different. I personally love meat. I just do. I did raw. I did vegan. I did all of that. Yes, Sam, we can clear that. I did all of that. And it didn't work for me. So I actually had to figure out what worked with me and what belief systems I was putting into my world. And so that's what we want to do, is get you sort of understanding where your belief systems lie with regards to exercise, with regards to diet, with regards to number on a scale. Because I'm going to go back to that first point that I mentioned before. A lot of times if you see a number that you felt amazing at, that's the number we want you to step into. But then there's a number that you may not have felt so great, that you don't like, that you're carrying a shame in, and you're holding in that frequency of negativity because you attached it to a number when all it is just a number. So that's where we're gonna kind of make a shift in the mind.
Erica, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
I'm sorry. Erica, I have a quick question. So can you just give a really quick example of like what that might look like in your day when you're, you know, about to eat, or if you know where some of that lies, like if you're looking at food for comfort, how would that look like? Like take me through just an example of like, you know, how I would put this in steps and actually make this work.
Sure. So when you are going in, like, let's say you're like, my body's hungry, my body's thirsty, like check in, like when your stomach's growling, are you thirsty or are you hungry? Ask yourself those questions. Do you need water? Do you need to hydrate? If you are in fact hungry, if you're going into the kitchen and you're picking something, are you picking something to nourish, or are you picking something to calm? Are you picking something for comfort? Are you picking something for love? Are you being drawn to eat to nourish yourselves? Or are you being in a reactive state to eat to fill a void? Because more often than not, when people are eating and they're eating something and they're making a choice that they don't feel as healthy for them, there's a reason why. So for me, like I personally, like if I'm going to choose to eat, you know, if I just want to eat a burger, I'm going to eat a burger. I'm not putting in a frequency as to this is bad for me. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to have. And I take it at the highest frequency in which nourishes my bodies and my cells. So that's what we want to start playing with, is because it's not about the food. It's about the way that you ingest it. So when you are actually approaching yourself to have and again, this seems like a lot, like if you're going in there and you're looking at your refrigerator and you're like, I'm starving and all that looks good is chocolate milk, then say, this is what I want in my body. I'm going to clear the belief system that this is bad for me, because right now my body's telling me that it wants me to nourish myself with chocolate milk. They're just changing the frequency of what it is, because that's the power of you. But if you're looking at that saying only chocolate milk makes me feel better, it feels like love, and it's bad for me. That's the energy that you're going to take when you ingest it.
So if you know you're going to it to fill something for whatever reason,
yes,
what would you do at that point?
So then I would go in and say, what am I trying to fill? Like, what am I trying to more often than not, when one is uncomfortable, one is in a reaction or a trigger response, they're trying to replace it with something. You're using something outside of yourself to replace it. And so I would breathe in and be like, what is it that I need right now? And it may just be, I need to be calm and still. So find your breath to be calm and still. It may be, I'm hungry. So then say, what is the best for me to nourish my cells? It may be because I was triggered and I'm uncomfortable. So find that uncomfortable and learn how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Find out your motivation behind what you're doing, because more often than not, we're doing things out of habit. If your stomach is growling, ask, am I hungry or am I thirsty? And then take inventory of what you want and how you want to nourish your cells, and then use that frequency to do it.
And if it's for avoid, just don't eat that and instead use breath or something like that.
Yeah, more often than not, when we take something in outside of ourselves, it's because we are uncomfortable, whatever that uncomfort may be. So explore that, because again, it's not about the food, it's about the reason why you feel you need it to replenish. We truly have everything we need inside of ourselves to nourish us. So find out what that is in you. And yes, who MP with the idea with alcohol and smoking, how that leads to weight gain.
Oh, Erica?
Yes, Judy.
Yes, if you might, do you mind if I share an experience about that?
I would love if you shared.
Okay. Well, there was a day when I had eaten I was eating the same as always. I didn't change in anything, but I took a pint of ice cream and I energized it with a frequency that it would support me in shedding weight. I ate the whole pint of ice cream, like I said, and it was an addition to my regular food for the day. I didn't then starve myself. No, I ate it along with everything else. And the next day, and I had been weighing myself on the scales every day, and the next day I had dropped 2 pounds. And to drop 2 pounds is like, okay, now why don't I energize everything? But it was, I took the time to talk to the ice cream and to energize it with a frequency that it would support me in shedding weight, support my body. And it did. It tastes good too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's what I love that you're sharing, and we're sharing through experience. Because when we say, I want to eat this bag of cookies, why? Like, do you want to truly energize it and have it nourish you, or are you doing it to fill a void? When you're coming from a place of frequency where you are at peace and you're energizing the food to nourish your cells, it doesn't matter if it's cookies. It doesn't matter if it's apples. It doesn't matter if it's meat. It doesn't matter if it's fruit. What matters is the frequency that you're holding it at. And a lot of times when we go and grab something, it's in response or a reaction. And so we just want to make sure that when we come into frequency and we bring things in outside of ourselves, we're not doing it in reaction mode or trigger mode. We're doing it in energetic frequency mode. And that's kind of the shift, and that's kind of the difference. Just like, for instance, male belly weight. Like, if they drink beer, they're going to gain weight, or they're going to gain belly fat, right? There's a belief system that people that drink beer have this belly. I know a lot of people that drink beer that have no belly, and they'll drink like a 6-pack of beer and there's no belly. They don't agree to that belief system. Calories in versus calories out. Another belief system that people say, well, I got to really watch my calories, and you're telling calories that they're bad. So as they compound in your body and the frequency that are coming in, that's density. So when we're looking at things in the idea of frequency, you want to look at it with density or release. And when you are releasing the density and you're energizing the food, you're taking it at a frequency within you. So it doesn't matter what you're ingesting. It doesn't matter what you do for your body. It could be something simple as to get back into your body, like to do a dance and a song and have that be your workout and have that be enough, because that's nourishing your cells. And when you are dancing, you feel like you're powerful. You feel amazing. Just start questioning how you're going to feed your frequency, how you're going to nourish your frequency with regards to what you want to do and the actions you want to step into. because it really is very simple. We want to complicate it, and we also want to say, but if I do this, oh, I can't walk, that does nothing. Or if I only ride my bike, then that's going to really get me lean. And we aren't aware that this is what we're telling our body and how our body responds. So when we actually go into those belief systems, I was told that I was allergic to so many things, and I'm like, am I allergic? Do I believe that I'm allergic? And I brought in frequencies of things, and I found out that I'm not allergic. And it was interesting because I never, I was just playing in different frequencies. It's like, well, what do I believe? Do I believe in that? Somebody told me that I was. And then when I actually did it for myself and I didn't adopt that belief system, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm not, in fact, doing that. Let me see what Kathleen said. What a shortcut to assume negative frequency or motivations. I love how there's a shortcut. There's really not a shortcut. It's more or less just stepping into the frequency of energy. And I'm reading the chats as I go. So just start to question your motivation is a good way to put it. Start to question that when you are ingesting or when you're exercising, are you doing it in response? Are you doing it in trigger? Are you doing it into connection of self? When you are ingesting food, are you doing it in a response? Are you doing it in a trigger? Or are you doing it with connecting to energy of self? And that's how we get to play, is because you do get to energize everything that you want, and you are the one that is guiding whether or not it agrees with your system, whether it agrees with your cells. Those are your thoughts. And so those thoughts hold frequency. So I just want everyone to be aware that when you look at that stuff, start to tell yourself, what does this do for me? How do I want it to feel when I do this? How are my cells going to respond? And give it that identity and that frequency that you can nourish that way. So actually, let's clear some belief systems, and then we can go into individual clearing. So I feel like when we individually clear and universally clear, we really get, we'll get to start to feel the shifts a little bit. And that's what we want to do. So we're going to take a deep breath in. Close our eyes. Take another deep breath in. And with this one, we're going to go into the universal master cell. And from this first particle of existence to this time and place called now, we're going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the belief system that I have to work out in order to be fit, that exercise is the only way to lose weight, that diet means restrictions, that diet means that I have to starve. We're going to clear, cancel, remove, and delete the idea that alcohol and cigarettes, once quit, will create weight gain. We're going to clear, cancel, remove, and delete the idea that chemical substances fill voids as a replacement of nourishment. We're going to clear, cancel, remove, and delete the belief system that I need to go somewhere, to a gym, to feel like I'm doing something for my body. Clear, cancel, remove, and delete the idea that junk food makes me gain weight. Clear, cancel, delete, and remove the belief system that when I am in a triggered response, when I feel I need to fill a void, I use food as the emotion of choice. I'm going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the idea that I am not control of my frequency, and that my food, my exercise, and my number is a reflection of myself. I'm going to clear, cancel, remove, and delete the idea and the belief system that I have no control over food. I'm going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the belief system that I am not self-sustaining. We're going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the belief system that my organs will not respond to my frequency, that my cells will not change to my frequency. And I'm going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the belief systems attached to the word diet, attached to the word exercise, attached to the word feeling incomplete, not whole. And we're going to clear the need to fill uncomfort with a substance outside of ourselves. And we're bringing in the rainbow light. And I'm having it swirl all over your entire body system. All the organs, feel it going from your head, swirling all the way down, touching every organ, nervous system, cellular structure. And we're going to step into the frequency. I am free from rules and restrictions. I am powerful. My cells respond to my frequency. I tell my cells the identity to reflect light, love, and the essence of me. I am free. Feel that integrate. Thank you. I love you. It is done. There's a beautiful calmness when we actually free ourselves from the rules and restrictions we put behind triggers. And so everyone, like when you're in a moment of a response, and we know what that is, find that place of frequency where you are free from the restrictions that you put upon yourself. You know, when we say we charge our food and we nourish our cells, this is the frequency, that stillness within you that we ask you to tap into. This is the frequency of the higher divine, where it doesn't matter because it's not separate from you. And it's these belief systems that create separation from yourself to your divine. And we're truly one. And that's what we want to embrace. So now let's do some individual clearings.
Would love one, Erica.
Who's speaking? I hear a voice.
I would love one.
Too.
I will write names down.
Nanette.
And I have Suchitra.
Who spoke first?
Nanette. Oh no, I'm sorry.
And Nanette, I'll have you mute because that's not who I heard first. Who did I hear first? I'm sorry.
Suchitra.
Sorry, one more time.
Suchitra.
Okay, and then I hear, okay. So,
and Kaya, Erica, Kaya.
Okay, Kaya. We'll go Kaya first, and then we can do Nanette and Suchira. So Kaya, where are you? I'm trying to find you, Miss Sweet Girl. Okay, there we are. Perfect. I see you.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm gonna try not to cry. I just want to express my gratitude to you and Megan and Jules. I've been struggling with weight for so long, and I've tried so many things, and it's just heartbreaking when I look in the mirror. It's just, I have such deep sadness. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for the work that you all are doing. It's truly amazing. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, let's actually clear some of that grief. I can feel that because let's clear some of this, because I think like I feel that frequency in you just wanting to get ready to clear it because it's right there and you're like, oh, thank you. It's just, yeah, it can be this simple. So we're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to exhale it down. Take a deep breath in. Exhale it down. And the sadness that I'm getting, actually, I'm going to move into the gut area. It's this loss of control. It's feeling like you're out of control and you don't have control over your choices. Like the one thing you feel like you should be able to do is control the way you look. And if it's not into that perfection of what you see, there's a shame, a sadness, a grief, and a betrayal of self that comes in. And that punishment of self, that betrayal of self, is actually telling your cells that you, in fact, are not the powerful being that you know to be true, because you're not enough. It's if you're not strong enough. So I want to go into that. So we're going to take a deep breath in. And there's the recorder cell. And from this first particle of existence to this time and place called now, we're going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the belief system that I am not enough. And that by not being enough, I do not have control over my cells. I do not have control over my choices. And that my physical reflection of self is of shame, doubt, and grief. I clear, cancel, remove, and delete shame, doubt, fear, and grief, and powerlessness. The powerlessness one is really strong within you. So I'm actually going to take that a little deeper. Clear, cancel, remove, and delete. I have no control over my body. I have no control over my cells. And I am afraid that I don't have the power to change. We're bringing in the rainbow light. And as it removes those belief systems, you are free, you have the power, and you are enough. You are free, you have the power, and you are enough. And I want you to feel the freedom in saying, I am enough.
I am enough.
Because the belief system that comes in is that you have to suffer and you have to experience grief as a way to punish yourself for not being enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am free of my beliefs and I am enough. Take a deep breath in. Thank you. I love you. It's done.
Thank you.
So connect to that, because when you went into that grief and things, we are very, and I feel a lot of us like connecting to that I am enough. Because more often than not, when we start to search for things outside of ourselves, it's because we don't feel like we're enough within. And that's the noise that I'm talking about. That's the noise that we want to clear from so that we can bring in that peace and that calmness and that stillness where we know and we trust that we're enough. But because we've always made choices based on noise, we don't know what it's like to necessarily make a choice in that frequency of being enough. So for a lot of people, or even as Jen was saying, I am more than enough. However that resonates with you, what's most important in this clearing, none of us are broken. We're not here to fix anything. We're just here to claim ourselves and to tell ourselves what to step into. We're just directing ourselves to step into a frequency that we know exists within, and they just want to be told where to go. That was beautiful. Like I could feel the shift in you. And you went there very easily. So just when that grief comes up, please just connect back into that stillness of I am enough and I am free. Because a lot of that time, like we're putting rules and restrictions on ourselves, and I want you to be free from that.
Okay.
There's a lot of freedom when we're energizing things within our body, because anything that we want at any time is our choice. And that's the beauty of frequency, is we can choose to resonate high. We can choose to resonate low. Even if we're experiencing a low vibe, we can choose to stop the pattern in that moment and get back to high. That's the power of us. And we don't have to struggle, restrict, and beat ourselves up along the way. We just have to surrender that belief system, because we know what that feels like. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes. I will have Megan. Do you want to do Nanette?
Sure. Hi, Annette.
Hi, Megan. Thank you both. This is an amazing call today, so thank you. I had mentioned to Erica, because of an accident and they messed up an operation, I have stuff coming out of one of my organs, and well, I don't know where it's coming from, but it's leaking through my body, and I've tried everything to try and get rid of it. So I don't know if anything can be done about that. And I've been overweight for a long time, and it's time for me to release the weight. So those are the things that I'm working on.
Okay. I think today we should just start, and I'll just see what comes up. But I think as you proceed, just continually try and rise above the past and that accident and that story, and start to find that healing frequency and hold that. And don't try not to get stuck in that it happened, that it's leaking, and start holding on to, and I think we'll get into that today. And that can help maybe so you can move forward.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Erica? Okay. One moment. All right, Annette, if you can put your hands on your heart.
Okay.
Take a deep breath in. Another deep breath as we connect in this space. As I connect to you, Annette, and I ask the Council of Light to help heal and repair, help your cells regenerate that organ, help you feel that feeling of healing. We ask that we're guided and supported today to help shed light on that belief that needs to be cleared. One moment. Getting a belief that I cannot change, feeling trapped. Breathing into that is our fear. One moment. Getting a fear of rejection. Just following that, one moment. So, as I trace that today, I'm just feeling into the fact that I think you feel trapped in what was. And the fear of rejection for where you've been and where you are, which is no longer, but it isn't your truth. It's not who you are. I feel like you're hiding inside and you're ready to let yourself shine through. So let's go in from the first particle of existence to this time and place called now. We clear, cancel, and delete the feeling of being trapped in a space that you don't recognize, being trapped in a past, being trapped in a body that you don't reside with, that you don't recognize. We clear, cancel, and delete the belief that you cannot change. We clear, cancel, and delete the belief that you don't have the energy to change, the ability. We clear, cancel, and delete any doubt. Now, witness as that leaves your cells. Show me. And now we're bringing in the rainbow light in all of its beauty. And as it spins, all those 7 elements, and it spins in the space and the space in between. And we're going to download the frequency of which is your truth. I am enough. I am ready. And I will let my light shine. You're ready, Annette, to shine through all that you feel has held you back. It's no longer there and you are ready. I am ready to shine. Breathe that in. Thank you. I love you. It is done. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much for that. It's funny because I'm a dreamer and I've had exquisite dreams all of my life, and I remember my dreams. And I know that it's time to break through and come into my real being, because I was 125 to 130 all of my life, until whatever happened. So now it's funny that you're saying that, you know, it's time for me to shine and whatnot, because I feel that and I'm working toward that. And so I just needed a few of what to do to keep bringing that into my body and to keep clearing the things that are there that are no longer useful, because the old me, it's time to change into the new me. So it felt really good. So thank you.
Good. I feel that. And so just remember that frequency that you're feeling right now and channel that. And, you know, it doesn't mean that those old thoughts, you know, sometimes we feel it bubbling in, and that's when you can use your I am statement and really hang on to that frequency as you're moving forward. Because I really feel that within you, that you're ready to just jump through. So you've got
And
this.
in my dreams, I'm always a very slender person like I used to be. I never see myself the way I am now.
Yeah, I didn't feel that at all. So what I heard in your voice coming through and what I was feeling into were different. So yeah, you've got this.
Thank you so much for both of you.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Megan. Things that are coming up even in the chat. There's belief systems that our bodies limit us, that we in fact are not in control of our bodies. And that hormones, if we are at the mercy of hormones, we are at the mercy of, again, our organs and our body. And what I want everyone to remind you is that we are just energy. We are made of energy and we fluctuate in vibration. So depending on that vibration that you're holding on and that you're stepping into will be the reflection that you see in that moment. And oftentimes when we use our physical self as biofeedback, it's going to prompt a story or a lower frequency in which we will remember and actually create a brain loop with that will lower it without even consciously being aware that we're lowering it. So just be aware that when you are looking at your reflection of self, step into the frequency of what you want to become, not what you think that it is showing you. Because a lot of times we'll look at ourselves and we'll say, I'm like this because of that. And we want to stop. That's the loop that we want to stop. When we are seeing ourselves as divine perfection, that is the power of our body, that we have the power to change our cells and our energy and our fluctuation and vibration, we see ourselves as the divine. So what does that look like for you? And that's what I encourage you to step into when you see yourself. I want you to see yourself what you're stepping into, not what you physically see, because that's an illusion, but actually what you want to see and what you want to become. Because a lot of times we'll use a physical ailment as something that limits us, and then it takes us out of the power of how we want to step into and the frequency of which we want to vibrate at. So just be aware, because all we are is energy changing in frequency, and we fluctuate. So be very aware of how that affects everything that you do, because we want you to stay in that vibration of stillness and divine, because we are all truly divinely perfect, and our bodies we control our bodies don't control us. We heal our bodies do not tell us that we can't heal. And so that is where you're going to start to play in those realms and those frequencies, because we've seen it many, many times where people will heal themselves, you know, from ailments that we're told were not healable. And so it's just being aware of your power and where it lies, and not getting stuck into that physical reality of where it was created from. Okay. Suchira. I'm going to, before I do this, I love how everyone's I've kept the chat on because I think the chat is good, because there's so many people in this class. Melinda, that is a beautiful belief system. The belief that you found was, I'm damaged as a result of choices made when I was young. I must carry those scars for my entire life. This is beautiful. Like, these are the things that we want to talk about. Like, when we go further into a root cause, these are the belief systems that I want everyone to explore outside of just food and exercise, is what's coming in from when you quote unquote started gaining weight. What situation were you in? What brain loop did that create? What trigger response did that create? Because that's what you were feeding the cells from. And so that's the place we want to clear it. Not the story, but the actual cause of that. So then, Suchira, let's go ahead and we will do a clearing with you.
All right. So I am very independent, capable, and love to travel. And this is something that I gave up. My ideal weight is in 128 to 130, and was that way till I gave it up. And now in the interim, it's like I've come back to the point. It's like, no, I want to be able to get up early in the morning, enjoy hiking, enjoy swimming, enjoy doing yoga. And with my present weight, I cannot. So it's like, okay, I need to get back to it. And that's where I'm at. And it's like, it can be done, and it can be done more difficult way or more easy way. And I'm in the right things. Like, okay, I'll take all the possible methods, put them all synchronously, and let it go to achieve the end.
Okay, so let's take a deep breath in. I love, because you're bringing up a lot of things that are coming in. So we're going to take a deep breath in. And as we clear in through those belief systems, there's a lot of rules in your world. And what I understood is that When you were independent and free is when you were healthy. So you feel if you don't have the freedom to travel or the freedom to be independent, that you can't be the successful weight that you were prior to that. I'm also understanding that you want to do things. There's a desire for you to do things, but there's a resistance in doing it because that doesn't allow you to have that freedom and the independence. So I want to breathe that in. And I actually want to clear, cancel, remove, move, and delete the rules and the structures of what it takes for your body to reflect the frequency of what you want to become. Take a deep breath in. There's a fear that if you don't give yourself a chore or a goal, that it will not happen. There's a resistance, and the more you put on your plate, you become overwhelmed. And I love it because I truly see a checklist of things that you have to do in order to look and feel a certain way. And so even though you're saying that it could be the hard way or the good way, I want you to take a deep breath in. And I'm going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the idea that you have to physically, emotionally do something in order to experience the change in frequency, the change in self. I clear, cancel, remove, and delete the structure, the rules, and the dogma of needing something to do in order to create a result. I feel that. By clear, canceling, deleting, and removing the structure that I put on myself and my cells, I am free to step into my frequency and reflect what I want to become. Please repeat with the rainbow light.
With the rainbow light.
I am free to step into my frequency.
I'm free to step into my frequency.
As I shed all my identities.
As I shed all my identities.
To become what I want to reflect.
To become what I want to reflect.
I am free from my structure and my rules.
I'm free from my structure and my rules.
I am free.
I am free.
I'm going to clear, cancel, remove, and delete the idea that it has to be hard, that there has to be a struggle. And I'm going to bring in the fact that I am free with ease and grace. Please repeat, I am free with ease and grace.
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 Thank you. I love you. It is done. Thank you, Suchira.
Thank you.
There's a beautiful stillness in that release. I feel like a weight just kind of lifted off your chest. And so that's, because we all universally clear in these individual clearings. And I love that there's a comment that, you know, the resistance in doing the work, because we feel like this is work, right? Like when you're like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to, you know, I have to do the work, or I have to, you know, it's a daily practice of not doing something, but playing in the frequency. So when you automatically put on, I have to do this, and I'm having a resistance to do this because it's another chore, it's another thing on my checklist, be aware that that's what you're telling your body to respond to. Because what we're truly doing is we're playing in our frequency. There's nothing that we have to do other than just be. But we have these steps and processes for everyone because most do not know what it is to just be. We have identities. We have belief systems. We have thoughts that we put into frequency that reflect us. When what we're trying to do is have you get to the heart and soul of you and your higher self and your divine, is that's where your power lies. That's where your cells respond. That's the identity that we want you to step into. And most are, not most, but some are unfamiliar with that identity. Some don't know what it feels like to be truly powerful, to empower themselves to have their body reflect and respond with the way that they're stepping into frequency. So that's what we want you to play with. It's nothing that you have to do. It's nothing that I want you to be like, oh my gosh, this is another thing I need to add to my checklist. But more or less play into the frequency of what it feels like to embrace all of you, the complete of you, at the highest frequency of you. That's what we're asking. And more often than not, when you start to go into those patterns and those belief systems, the food doesn't matter. The exercise doesn't matter. The diet doesn't matter, because you truly will feel complete. You will feel whole. You will feel powerful. And that vibration is what your cells come from. That's the identity that you step into. And so I really want everyone to get to know their bodies, because more often than not, when you're struggling with weight, you're disconnected to that body because of the emotion it brings forth, because you feel as though it reflects a reflection of self, whether that be failure, whether that be loss of control, whether that be shame, whether that be embarrassment. We're clearing all of that. Like if I ate this, I would look like this, or maybe if I tried this a little bit better, I'd work with that. And that's the noise we want to quiet. We are beautiful beings of energy that we're stepping into, and we're just shedding the extra stuff so that we can own our power and reflect the inner beauty that we are. We are safe to be. And a lot of times people don't feel safe to be, which is why they've created identities to be something that they're not. So we want you to explore that. It's time to be, which is all why we're here. We're here to step into what it feels like to empower ourselves to be ourselves, and not through the identity of others. I would love to do one more clearing if somebody's
I would love some help.
Yes, Roxanne. Hi.
Hi. I still feel like there is some resistance that I'm having, and I'm not sure if that's because I have some fear about looking into the fear of the stories, or quite what that is. And I've been struggling to do the work. Just other things that you said in the last 5 minutes were really resonating with me. And I've just been decided that I'm having fun with it, and I've been using my pendulum to tune into my body, and I'm telling it my I am statements that I'm fit, I'm healthy, your body beautiful. And I've been taking my pendulum and saying, what do we want today? What's going to make you feel good and healthy and fit? So I've been having fun that way. But then to try to get into doing the dropping in to shedding the stories and the BS, the belief systems, you know, I'm still having a little resistance, and I would love if you could help me clear that.
Yeah, let's clear it, because I love that you brought that in, because that's all it is. So many of us are attached to stories. We're attached to the identities and the stories that give us our physical sense of self. And when we actually go in to clear it, when we clear the story, then like, well, then what? What do we have next? That's why it's important to step into a frequency of what we want to have to identify us, because more often than not, we used a story as our identity. And when we clear that story, then you don't know what to step into next. And that's where you get to have the power to play and be in the freedom of it, is because you truly get to choose what you want to step into next. So let's take a deep breath in. And you truly just said you want to be able to clear the belief system of a story, the belief system of identity, the belief system of self. I'm actually getting the fear of, well, what if it doesn't work? Then I don't have the power.
Yes.
Like if I don't make it fun, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
There's a fear and a doubt that you don't have the power to change your body. And the stories that you're telling yourself are keeping that power, like that powerless belief system, very strong in you.
Yes, I'm basing it on past failures. So
Yeah, and I feel that like there's such a big sense of disappointment and failure, like, well, what if it doesn't work?
yes.
And I want you to flip the coin as to what if it does work? What if you do get to reflect what you want to see? What if you do get to be shown?
I love it.
Right? And there's a beauty in that, yet there's also a fear attached to that because you haven't been used to being seen that way. So I'm even going to go root, because when you go into the root cause of the fear of what if it doesn't work, when I trace into the what if it does work, there's resistance of being seen.
Yeah.
There's a fear of being seen because there's a fear of not knowing who you are.
Yes.
I feel it very strongly in you. And what I love about this is when we're going to clear, cancel, remove, and delete the belief system that we don't know who we are. That if we clear an identity, we don't know what to step into next. That we are afraid that if we are seen, we will be rejected. And if we are rejected, then we are alone. We have a fear of being alone.
In past lives, it was death, being killed for me.
We're going to clear, cancel, delete, and remove the trigger and the past belief life story that death is a response of aloneness, of being seen, and that I am unsafe. We're going to clear, cancel, remove, and delete the belief system that these stories are who I am today and right now. They no longer serve me. They no longer resonate with me. I clear them. And I'm bringing in the rainbow light. All beautiful 7 elements, because you are not your thoughts. You are not your mind. You are not the illusion of what you see. You, in fact, have the power to become and reflect your highest self. You are asked to step into your higher self. Show me.
Step fully and powerfully into my higher self now.
That visual that you have when you connect to your higher self is the essence of you. That is the frequency of who you are right now, who you came to be and step into. Feel that. That is the power of you. That is safe. It is powerful. It's not scary. It's not death. It's a lot easier to accept defeat than it is to accept success. You will not let yourself down this time. I want you to feel that. There's this thing that you're going to let yourself down. We're clearing that. You are safe to be you. You are asked to be you. See you, feel you, step into you, and become you. You are energy, you are light, you are love.
Love, strength, and purity.
Mm-hmm. Release the fear and the grief.
I fully release the fear and the grief in all directions of time.
We cleared from that first particle of existence to this time and place called now. You have the power to be you. You are free to be you.
I am free to be me.
Thank
Free.
you. Mm-hmm. That was a good exhale.
Yes, I can feel the power back in my body. I got this.
Yeah. Everybody on this call, what I love is that when we truly unravel, right? When we truly clear things that we used to define us, such as our identities, our stories, a number on a scale, those are just the illusions of where we limit ourselves. We really want you, and I feel all of you stepping into the power of you, and it's truly a choice. What resonates, where frequency do you want to hold, and to continue to step into that frequency and hold it regardless of the noise around us. Because often, more often than not, we're responding and we are reacting, where in this case, we want to step in, transmit, and be. And so when everyone brought in, like, I'd like to, do we do numbers while we clear it? That, like, do we clear hormones? Like, those are the things that you clear with yourself, that those do not identify you, those do not define you, you define you. Your energy steps into what you want to become. You're just telling yourselves what you want to become. And it's very scary when sometimes you're like, I don't even know what I want to become because this whole time I've been what everybody told me to be. So that's why we want you to clear the stuff, to see what truly resonates with you and to see what belief systems that you want to keep and which ones you want to get rid of. That is the power of you. Imagine yourself step into what you want to see. When you look at yourself in the mirror, don't look at the physical of you in this moment. Look at the you that you're stepping into. Feel what you're stepping into. See what you're stepping into. That is what your cells, and keep doing it over and over. There should be no resistance. There should be fun in that. There should be play in that. You truly get to step into what you want to become and the power of you and how you want to surrender to the belief systems that kept you limiting to that point. We only limit ourselves. We're stepping beyond those beliefs and limitations into becoming what we want to step into. And so we truly, when we say step into the power of you, it's that choice. It's a lot easier to be told what to do. It's a lot easier to say, well, I'm like this because of that. When we truly step into the frequency of us, there's that stillness and calmness that guides us into what we do next. So I want us all to close with that. As we come together, we're going to take a deep breath in. I want this next week to truly resonate into your higher self and your divine. Connect into your body. Connect into your cells. Connect to what you want to become and the frequency you want to hold. It's never left you. It's just asking you to remember what it felt like to feel your power, what it felt like to reflect the light that you are. Our bodies are shifting and changing. We are shedding what we knew to be true in human form, and we are stepping into our light, cells, and essence to create what we're about to become. Though it may be uncomfortable, it is time to own that power. We are safe in our power. We are protected in our power, and nothing outside of us jolts that power. At any time we feel lower, we reconnect to our divine, we reconnect to our power, and we reflect our light. Our cells reflect our light, and our bodies reflect our cells and our light. We are free. We have the power. and it is time to be. Take a deep breath in. Go play. Go play in your frequency. And when anyone feels resistance, when anyone feels off, center back in and find your divine and just step into that power and step forward. It's truly beautifully easy, graceful, and joy. So I wish you all a week of joy, ease, and grace as you get to uncover you, as you get to step into the power of you and reflect you to be seen. This is the exciting time. This is the stuff that makes it fun to work. So thank you all for joining me. It was so fun. I will upload this in class, in the Kajabi course, so you can rewatch it. But just tap back into this frequency, because that's why we're reminded of what we came in here at. This is the frequency we get to tap in, where we feel whole, we feel complete, we feel power, we feel seen, we feel us. So own you, be you. It's time to just be, reflect, and own you and the power of you. So thank you all so much. I truly appreciate you all. I love you all so much. I feel you all, and I feel that stillness and power within. So I'm excited to see how everyone weeks go, and I'm excited to hear experiences about next week. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.